Today we will be covering the session on the development and organizing the architectural best practices. So in this, I'll be covering the naming conventions and the table joins, the table concatenation, and the syntactic keys. So to start with the naming conventions, we have broadly make the categories where we can follow the naming conventions. For example, we have the folder and file naming conventions to be in place. Then when we come to the one individual file, so then within that file, the sheet name, report names, that should be within place. If we go some more detail level, then we have the field names or the field names from the different tables and the variable names that we are creating for our use of expressions or the other purposes. So that should also be have the standard format. And while creating the visualizations, when we have the different chart objects, we have different dimension expressions. So when the charts are displayed with respect to the dimension and expression, then it should have the proper labels, proper headings that should help to the user very in a first glance itself. The user should be able to understand what this column means, what this dimension means. So we'll go into the detail one by one. So when we come to the folder structure, uh, everybody now, majority of us are from the training, IBI training. So we have studied that we should have the raw extractors, then which can also be same said as a stage one. Then we have the stage 2, in some cases stage 3, and data model, then final applications. So these are the core folders we need. Apart from these, we should have the include file or folders that we are using in our overall dashboards. So that should be in a maintained in a separate. Then the other configuration like your variable paths, the standard formats of the date and other variables. So this should be maintained in a separate folder. I will show you the example, and so you'll be able to understand more easily. So let's say this is my drive where I'm storing my all the applications or the my entire landscape of a BI is located. So let's say I have a folder named Analytics Project where I have all my analytics landscape relied here. So as discussed, we should have the configuration folder. The configuration folder will contain your uh, variables or the, so these are the path variables. We can see that since we are working on different customers, we have faced the multiple ERPs, multiple DMS systems. So we have majority places we have SAPs. So likewise we can have the separate folder for each data type, uh, each source of data, and so their individual path where those QVDs are relied. So that should be maintained in one file. That will help us when you are migrating from one location to another. You need not have to go into each and every application, or let's say any specific file or folder is moved from one location to the other location. You need not have to go into each and every application to identify whether that file or folder is being used and modify their path, but you can directly modify from here, and that can be used across the entire landscape. This is the basic purpose. So where you can keep these whatever folders we have created, their paths you can have in one configuration file. Also the by default, if you load the click view or click sense, the some of the formats are used, but sometimes it is the requirement from customer end or the maybe the project need that we need the let's say we will take the example of date format. So here we have the DDMMYY. So in places it can be a dash DD dash YYY. So if this is going to be happen, we can in place of making the changes in each and every file, each and every script. So we can have the common place where we can make the changes, and that can be included in all the places. And once this is centrally modified, the change can be reflected at all the places. So this is the reason we should create such kind of universal kind of repository. Then we have the stage one where we are extracting all the raw data. Some places this is called as the raw extractor. Some places we are calling as a stage one. So there we have to have the two folders. One should have the data QVDs, another should be QVD maker. So if I go into the QVD maker, it would be helpful if I create the data source level different extractors. So it's a one time effort that you need to create for the folders, but believe me, based on experience, I'm telling you that this will help you throughout the project life cycle and after the development or deployment, whatever is a maintenance, post delivery support. This becomes a very easy, very flexible to understand and maintain. So let's say I have the different file folders like the SAP, where I have the different SAP tables I am extracting. And so we have created the separate QVW or separate file for each table extraction. So in that also we have followed the naming convention. Let's say this is my SAP table Mara. Mara is a material master uh, from the SAP perspective, and this is universal. So you can keep the name as a Mara, which is a table name, and what is the frequency of extraction of this table. So as we know that we are extracting the data on different frequencies like a daily, uh, in some cases some hourly or 2 hourly, or maybe twice a day. So likewise the frequency is set for the extractions for the tables. So we can mention that it will be helpful for understanding the person who is going to schedule uh, schedule the jobs for your project, your delivery. So he can easily check that okay, this is the table and this is the frequency, so he will immediately make the triggers accordingly, right? So this is the SAP table. So apart from that SAP, if you have any other ERP, you can keep the name of ERP, and you can put the extractors. If we have the let's say DMS. So since I'm from the majority auto background, DMS is a dealer management system which is available for all the auto industries, and their ERP is almost separate ERP than the SAP for majority customers. So we have the separate data source. So we are creating the separate extractors as well. There also we can create the each each QVW or QVF file for each table, and you can keep the same naming convention uh, for the for the file, for the extractor file. So this is dealer master is one of the table which is a master of all the dealers, and it should be extracted on a daily basis. Secondly, I have the service requests that should also be extracted on a daily basis. So likewise, there are n number of tables we can list down, and the table name and its frequency should be listed down. And whatever table is extracted, so its QVD should be go within the respective table, sorry, respective folder. Let's say I have a Mara table which is a material master in SAP. So my since this is a SAP table, it should go into the SAP folder only. So if you follow these things, you will be find you will find some time is invested to establish this thing, but believe me, this is going to reduce your almost 60 to 70% of time while you are investigating, in terms of when you are doing the support, or when you are doing the UT, or when you are going to changes. So this will be very helpful for you. So similarly, when we come to the stage 2, we can have the stage 2 as a prefix, and then whatever is the, let's say, my assembly line and production KPI. So this is a stage 2 of assembly line production. So tomorrow somebody claims that, I can find the some wrong value, or some value which is expected by the user is not as per his expectation, and he has clearly mentioned that, okay, the production of particular shop is not up to the mark. So one can easily directly go into this stage 2 and check whether the data is showing in a dashboard is same as a uh, raw, whatever, I mean, with respect to the raw. If we are matching with the raw, then you can clearly tell, sir, as per the data available in a source, the value shown on a dashboard is absolutely correct. In case you, if you have any doubts, any queries, you can contact to the source system. So this will simplify your job. If you're not going to follow these things, or you're not going to follow such structure, firstly you will take a time to identify the root cause. So during that time, the business user keeps on calling you, mailing you. So he will keep you disturbing. See, what is the issue? Where is the issue? Why dashboard is showing wrong value? Although this is not the issue from Clicks team, but that pressure, or that kind of dissatisfaction comes from a customer to you. But in case if you are able to identify this root cause within a 5 or 10 minutes, and if you hand it over to the what whoever is a stakeholder for that mistake, so the customer satisfaction increases. Firstly, secondly, your jobs get done easily. So, and these two things make your life very easy. So if you want to make your life easy, you can follow these structures. Any doubts, any queries, you can interrupt me, and I'll be happy to answer all the doubts and queries. Should I proceed, or
Yeah, Prashant, proceed. And if people have any questions, let them put it in the chat and then answer those questions at the end.
okay, that would be great. uh, Another important thing that I would like to share, that in many places, in many customers, we have found that the file tracker and this folder structure is not properly maintained. So I'll just tell you the benefit of this file tracker. I will show you the one example, which will be very helpful for you to understand what is the use of that file tracker, and I mean, what is the benefit of it, and how to implement that will also be helpful for you. So I'm taking the same example again, the Mara table that I'm extracting from SAP. So the file tracker will give me the information that what is the raw table name, when its extraction has been started, when the extraction has been ended, what are the number of rows or number of records that has been extracted, what is the file size, what is the QVD name, and what is the file time, so updation of QVD file date and time. So the people who have worked in a support will able to understand what is the benefit of this information. Let's say I am creating one extractor. So all the SAP tables are put in a one extractor. Let's say I have 100 tables of a SAP, and those are extracted, and my out of those 100, let's say my fifth or 10th table has some issues, and that has created some issue, because of which my extraction has been failed. uh, as you are aware that in all the places we are putting our extraction data extraction in a midnights. So let's say ki after half an hour, after 20 or 25 tables, your extraction has been failed, your rest all the extractions will get failed, and it will take a time to identify where exactly issue, for which table it is the issue, and after identifying what is the issue and what is the root cause of that issue. This is a lengthy process. So in place, if you have the also there is a scenario that in some cases the QBD file gets corrupted or it gets overwrite with the updated data and you have some loss of data. So you have no clues that what kind of loss or how much data is been lost. And let's say if you are able to identify it on a very next day of the data loss, it will be a great to resolve the issue. But let's say if you are not able to identify by when this issue has been happened and by when you have lost the data, so it will be very difficult to identify firstly when this thing has happened. So if I don't have the any kind of tracker, then forget about this information. You will not get this information at all, that when this things has happened. But if I have the file tracker in place with the with the start time and end time, firstly I can identify if it is taking a regular time. So let's say if my table is taking 2 minutes on a, usually it takes 2 minutes to extract or 10 minutes to extract, and on a sudden day it has completed its extraction either one within a minute or it is taking a long hours. So you are not sure about the issue. So from this tracker, you'll be able to identify if these things are going on properly. And another, the number of rows will help you to understand the pattern of the table, how it is going to increase. So the cases where you have deployed a project very newly, let's say I have a sales analysis application in place. I have developed a very nice application with all the UT and everything is in place. Then I have scheduled the application for its daily reloads refreshing, and till the 3 months 4 months the application is running very fine. After that, the user has started complaining that I'm not getting data on a time, I'm not getting the good performance. So these things comes with the time. So if you have the proper this track of record, that by which ratio the number of records are increasing, by which ratio the extraction time is exceeding. So this all information will give you or will help you to organize all the reloads, to ensure that all reloads are happening properly and application is having updated data. In many cases we have observed, based on our past experience, I can give you the some of the examples that data extraction is still running. And so let's say my extraction is getting completed within 5 hours total extraction, and accordingly I have scheduled the my further stage 2, stage 3 and final application reloads. And during the month end or year end kind of scenarios, the extraction takes a little bit more time. So let's say that 5 hours extraction is going to take the 5.5 hour, or let's say 6 hours of extraction. Meanwhile your stage 2s have started its extraction, and uh, in that cases you have no clue that my all extractions are running fine, all extractions are completed, but still user are complaining that your data is not properly updated. So first, by default anybody is there who will check that if there is anything failure. If it is not a failure, then it means my architecture is running properly. Secondly, you need to then check that what all timings are usually my start and end times. And then if it everything is in place, then you can go into the data level, because directly dipping into the data level will take you a longer time for the investigation. And so scenario that I told you, that my 5 hours extraction is taking around 5.5 hours or 6 hours, and my stage 2 stage 3s are refreshed meanwhile. So you will check that okay, my source data and my my QVDs and my tables are having the different data, because you have all the tasks successfully completed. then you will get confused with your own development, that whether my development is correct or not. Whereas there is no issue of development, there is no issue of logic, it's just a overlapping of a timing. So if you have all this information available, you are very it becomes a very easy to identify and plan the entire, organizational, or you can say the BI landscape, BI uh, architecture. So this is the very useful. Also, we have already prepared this tracker, the tracker wale jo scripts hai, those are already available. So you don't need to actually put your extra efforts. You just have to include those things, and once those things are included, you will be so valuable information will be in your hands. So you just need to, here you can see that I have stored this in one of the text file, and I'm just including that particular thing. Similarly, I'm just including the format wala Excel, where I can have the all the date formats, the number formats, everything is been defined, and the configuration where my paths are configured. So these things are already available, and I just have to include those things. Secondly, I'm just starting. Okay, now I have to start the tracker by when the table extraction has been start, by when it has to end, then my actual logic, and it just a tracker end. One more thing I would like to suggest for all the developers, in your all developments, after completion of your logic, don't forget to put exit script. This will help you to understand your overall execution is completed, and now this execution has to end here. So click view has to understand that now we have to end the execution. In some cases, the task keeps on running. So those are very very rare cases, but yes, those are the cases. To avoid those cases, this is a very important, and it's just a small statement. So there is a no big deal to add it. And I can have the which table is extracted and by when this has been extracted. So if I reload now in front of you, I can see that my one record is added into the table, where I can have all the updated information. So to demo here, I have created a Excel file, and based on that Excel, this Mara has been displayed. So you cannot see the difference in number of rows or file size. But when you are working on a real-time scenarios, for after each and every reload, you will find the change in these values. I will share these things with you. What are the file, file tracker scripts and thing. So that will be helpful for you. So I would suggest that all the people should include in their respective projects. This will take a very small time, but the information that will be made available by this will be very helpful for. Nextly, when we come to the file level, so this is all about, we talked about the folder level. When we come to the individual QBW or QVF file, so we have the number of sheets available in our report, in our single file, click to script file. And in some cases, we have the number of reports as well. So one should ensure that the sheet name should be very clear and to understand. So let's say I have the sales analysis of application, where I have the minimum 15 to 20 tabs. So what is my, let's say I have a like a my landing page, then I have my dashboard, then I have my wholesale, then separately I have my retail, then I have my sales pipeline. So these are different things. But if there is a just sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3, sheet 4, and if you have to find out where is my sales pipeline KPIs are residing, you will have to go one by one sheet, and that will take you a lot of time. But if you have the properly naming convention, that my sheet 1 is my dashboard, sheet 2 is my wholesale, sheet 3 is my retail, sheet 4 is a sales pipeline. And if I need to find out the sales pipeline, I will directly go to the fourth of sheet, where I have all the KPIs of sales pipeline. So it is very important to have the very crystal clear sheet names. And so even when you are creating a sheet, you need to ensure that your sheet ID should be there and sheet ID should start with sh as a prefix and 0, 1, 2, 3, or in some cases if you can have the some text you can put the text as well, no issues. Then one should properly follow that if particular sheet is active, so it should be shown like default we show it's in a blue, and if it is inactive we are showing it in a gray, or whatever is the standard you are following, that should be followed in a throughout. But this is a must. In case if you have some header or footer, then those should be very clear and visible. Their font should not be a very kind of jazzy, which are difficult to read. It should be the font should be a standard font and visible to the very normal eyesight. Similarly, we have the reports. So in the reports, let's say my one file is containing my four reports: a daily production report, which is scheduled on a daily basis; my production progress, which is scheduled on a 2 hourly or hourly basis; my quality report is scheduled on my daily basis. So let's say in a one file I have the number of reports, 3 or 4 reports, meaning, and I have not renamed them properly. So when I hand it over to the publishing, the support person or the server responsible person have to go into deep of it, have to check what exactly report is, and then he will have to schedule. Also when you need to when there is some issue and you need to backtrack again, you will go find which exactly report is, and then you will go and backtrack. In place if you have the proper report name, so this is a daily production report, so I will directly go to the daily production report and I can easily identify if the issue is resides into that particular. I don't need to go for all the four report and find where exactly the daily production report is there. Then the report id is also, it is very important that when you are while creating the reports, people usually create the number of reports, then after some time the reports are added or the removed, and the ids are not updated properly. So if you have the proper ids maintained, that is a very helpful and standard practice. Similarly, as a sheet, I mentioned in a sheet, if you the reports have a header and footers, so those should be a very clear. And remember, I have seen the many developers are directly pulling the kind of logos or the headers in a report. In place, if you pull them in the sheet itself, and that sheet object is pulled into the report, it is very feasible for the maintenance perspective, as well as in the further developments or changes. This is very helpful, so one should always follow these things. So this is all about the file level. So when we are talking about the file level, when we come to the one file level, again there are two different things we can say that one is a front end, one is a back end. Back end is a part where you are writing all these scripts. So if your script is a properly readable, this is very helpful for any person, not only you as a developer, but any person who has to actually work or deal with that particular script part or the QVW or QVF file. If he is able to read properly and understand it properly, that is a very helpful for in all the perspectives. So what things we should take care, that we should be ensure that field name should be a very proper. It should not be like I'm reading the table. So many of us must have used the residence. So in the residence, people usually create T1, T2, T3. But what is those T1, T2, T3? Why don't you write the table name? This is my table one is related to the, let's say, production theme. So my production, there you can put the T0 or time 0, and then you can use the resident of it, and then you can drop the resident. Similarly, let's say I have the field names like field 1, 2, 3, 4. So people are reading those field 1, 2, 3, 4. They do not take the efforts to modify their names. And when there comes an issue, so people used to identify, Acha, the field 1 is my this primary key. So I need to check on that level. In place, if you have the already production number or the commission number is my primary key. So if you directly alias the thing that okay, field one is alias, field one is my uh, commission number. So one can easily go and find okay, I need to go the my first field and I need to find out. Also, when you are writing the so let's say commission number is my primary key or the field name. So I have the commission is a one thing and number is a different thing. I mean two words are there, but to combine these things, what kind of separators are you using is a very important. Using of a space is not at all recommended. So if you can so so what I would always prefer that my C of commission should be cap, and without any space if I can write n caps and n o is my commission number. Or let's say I have commission with C caps underscore n o. So that helps me in all the level, in all the kind of support or development, and too easy to understand. Similarly, while creating the variables, one should always follow these instructions. That your variable name should start with V, small v, and then let's say this is my MTD, current MTD. So you can mention small v, C, Y, MTD. This should be your proper name, because we have seen in many cases we have to compare MTD of current year with respect to the MTD of last year, and plus in that cases you need to again use the variables like what is the current year start, min date, max date. So if you just put a min date and max date, you will be not able to identify this is a min date or max date of a current year or the previous year. In place, if you can put that V, C, Y, current year, yeah, min date, this is your minimum date. C, V, CY, max date, it should be your current year max date. Similarly, you can create 2 years or data, 3 years data, and you can use it very simply. So for this also, we have created one of the standard variable wala file that I would also like to share with you all. And if you follow those things, so majority things are covered in that only. So see here, you just need to import this Excel into your file, and all the reports or all the variables will be created automatically. You don't have to put any extra efforts. The only efforts that you will have to do is like let's say if you are having the link date. Here I have used the link date as my selection date. Where now let's say if you are using the calendar date or date, so you just have to make changes in that place. Rest all the logics and the variable names with the all standard practices will be available to you with readily available expressions. And you just have to import this thing, nothing else. So this you can use as a reference point of view, as well as if it is possible for you, so you can keep adding all the in all your developments to add this variable sheet. Nextly, when you come to the front level, the we can say the object level chart objects, we have in the visualization we have the number of charts available. So, if you have followed the proper field name conventions in a backend, so you don't have to put extra labels on your front end chart objects. So, let's say I have to call the commission number as a my as a my requirement that I should have the commission number wise uska wholesale date, retail date, and all the customer details. So from backend if itself, if I would have alias all the field names, so first thing that it is very easy to identify that what all field I need to add into the chart object. So your development time is saved. Secondly, when so secondly, when you are directly adding those dimensions and writing respective expressions, so you don't have to put the labels to all your dimensions. Again, your time has been saved. Also, when you are putting the writing the expressions, make sure the right expression name should be there. So let's say I have the region wise current year sales, last year sales, and the percentage of growth. So if I have what is previous year sales, what is current year sales, and then its growth. My if my expression title are correct, so it is very easy to understand which is a current year wala and which is a last year wala sales. So this plays a very vital role uh, in your overall understanding and development efforts. तो यूजुअली हम लोग बोलते रहते हैं कि यार डेवलपमेंट का टाइमलाइन बहुत क्रंच टाइमलाइन है. We have given the very limited timeline and customer is expecting the this much output. But if you follow all these things, you can save your almost 30 to 40% of development time, and you can find that you are delivering not only on time but you are delivering before time. That too, all the quality in place, and very easy for you as well as the end user. Also, there are some other properties like title or the caption of the particular chart object. Believe me, this is a very, very, very important in your day-to-day life. If you have mentioned the proper chart name or chart captions, because in a support usually customer keeps asking us the queries about the one particular KPI or the one particular, you need not have to ask him about where exactly issue is. So he can directly give you, okay, my customer detail वाला जो chart object है उसमें issue है, and that issue you need to correct. So you need not have to find out where is my customer detail वाला chart object. You can by the name itself you can easily open that object, and you can do the audio analysis or the drill down. So these are the things. If you follow only naming conventions according to these standards, your life will be easier, plus your standards are growing. So now it's all up to you that whether to make your life easy and improve your standards, or you need to continue with your. So if you are following, that is a very well, and I mean I must appreciate it. But if not, please start following these things. So with this, the naming convention topic will be closed. Before moving to the next topic, how much time? Oh, already we have this limited time. So I think nobody has put any question. So if anybody wants to put down the question, you can put or you can ask. You can wait for a minute or two. No questions? Okay, let's move ahead. Second, the most important thing with respect to your development is all about the joins, the concatenation, and the synthetic key. I have seen the people applying the joins, but they are not able to understand what will be the output of that particular join. Or in many of the cases, I also observed that people are just doing the concatenation without understanding the consequences of the or whether it is really required, or it will create some issue. Uh, so we should have to understand each and every perspective, and then we have to apply these things. So let's say if you are while applying the joins, you must be very clear about what is your primary key and what kind of data it is containing. After joining the primary key of these two tables, so what can be the expected result? Let's say my 10, let's say I have a two tables having the 10 records in each table, and I'm applying the left join, table 1, left join, table 2. So what should be the output? The number of records, what can be that can be expected. So what it should be. it should be number of records available in a table one, right? So all the distinct records, those are or all the matching records, those are available in a table 2 will automatically get joined with the table 1, and then it will show the number of records those are available in the table 1. Similarly, when I'm going to apply the inner join, so the number of records will be only those where I have the common in both the tables. So likewise, if you are able to understand these things, so since we are talking about the things, uh, I mean terminologies. So you will find that okay, already we know that left join will keep the number of records of left table or the first table only. So why I'm repeating? I'm repeating because after joined, what is the when we are working? So we all are working on a field, right? So while working on a field, people are not able to identify कि after join what should be its मतलब एक expected result होता है तो what should be it, and whether the actual outcome is matching with the expected result. So if not, what is the issue? How to debug this? How to correct it? It is very difficult for many resources. So that is the reason I'm putting you again that please understand what is the concept of primary key, how the two tables are joining to each other, how the behavior of joins, how the behavior of left join, right join, inner join should be there, and before applying joins to any table, you should have the clear understanding of those two tables, and the after joining what should be the, so you must have the expectation that after joining this table, this output should give me this much record, or this kind of output I should get after applying the joins. So if you are not having the any expectation, I can confidently say you are not applying the right joins. I mean the proper joins are not applied because you have no understanding that what is going to happen after that join. So how you are applying the join? So trial and error method में काम नहीं करना है. अंडरस्टैंड करो टेबल्स के मीनिंग्स और उनका एक दूसरे के साथ में जो रिलेशनशिप है, एंड देन do apply the joins. Secondly, concatenation. So this is a very you can say a very easy question, or you can say it's a very difficult question, that where to apply join and where to apply concatenation. So if we have the correct understanding that whatever development we are doing, we can easily say that in what cases we should apply joins, in what cases we should apply concatenation. So अगर मैं आपको if I talk about on a very top level, you can find the concatenation in the scenarios like when you are concatenating the two data like history data and your current data. So whenever you are implementing the incremental loads, so with the history data you are concatenating the incremental data. So that is there you are applying the concatenation. There you cannot apply the joins, but where you have let's say you are in a stage 2 or stage 3, mainly in a stage 2 and stage 3, majority times we have to use the joins, because in that cases we are applying the relationship between two tables. Also in the data model level you will find very least joins, but you will find that the concatenation is happening. But when you are doing the concatenation in a data model level, please ensure that you are putting flags for each and every record, or not record, I would say, for each and every piece of data. You must apply the flags. Okay, this data is of about that particular KPI or any specific data set. तो उसका flagging होना बहुत जरूरी. Secondly, the very primary question or the matlab each and every click developer has faced and has an understanding of what is synthetic key, but some of the resources are very keen that they ensure that the primary key should not appear in their data model, but some of the people are getting confused when there comes a synthetic key. So how to handle this synthetic key? So to handle the synthetic key, If you are very clear about the primary key concept, the composite key concepts, and the relationship between the tables which are causing the synthetic key. So uh, in a many cases it is happening, or it might be possible that you are although you have a primary key in your table, but that is not enough to make your joins proper, make your joins or the define the relation between two tables. So in that case, or sometimes you have the tables having the similar name but their meaning is a very different. So let's say row id is a common field which we have found almost dms, and majority dms have the row id is a field as a primary key. But row id of a parent table and the row id of a child table are not having the same meaning, or they will not relate to each other. So if you join those based on to that, firstly you will get the wrong result. Secondly, the similar kind of similar names will create a synthetic key. So how do you deal with this kind of scenarios? So you need to very keen about the renaming or the aliasing of the fields. So and the the row id of parent can be linked to the parent id of a child table, not the row id of a child table, but the parent id of a child, or a vice versa. कि child table, row id of a child table, uh, no, you can always have the parent ka row id as a linking with the child table having the parent id column. Then let's say the rest of the if we are talking about the, let's say, hierarchy of the there is some data which has the hierarchy, let's say our business hierarchy we can say. So the reporting of a person will have the same attributes of the person who is reporting to him, but their linking will be on a different basis, and this may cause the synthetic key. So you need to define this very clearly, that what is the primary key, and then the other field names should be lies properly. In case some cases you need to find out the combination of two or more than one columns to create a synthetic to create a composite key, and based on that composite key your join should happen, and you should have no synthetic key in your table. So this is all about today's session. In case if you have any doubts, queries, please let me know. Let's unmute. I have two queries in my box. Okay, I think Ramin ma'am has commented. Yes, we are open for the question answers now.
Yes, thank you, Prashant. That was excellent. And I believe you recorded the entire session as well.
Yeah, I have
Okay,
already
great.
done.
It does. If anybody has any questions, you don't necessarily have to type them in chat now. If you have them, you can ask them since Prashant is done presenting. Please go ahead. And if you have no questions right now, but you think of something later on, please feel free to contact any one of us, including Prashant, and I'm sure he can answer your questions one on one as well.
Yeah, definitely. You can reach out to me one on one as well. In case if you find any issue in a later your practices, or how to implement the things that I have already explained. So definitely we can connect on one. And if you have any questions, we are open for I think another 2-3 minutes, and then we can have the closure of this session.